worked. Well, where's the state legislature? Where are all these politicians showing us that it worked? Because I talk to them and they just walk away.
Sure, I'll give you some statistics, and if you don't believe me, you can look them up online if you don't believe me, sir. But
I will believe you. It's
okay,
just, I want
let me just give you one
stat.
Let me just give you one stat, and then we can talk about that. Okay, sir. Since the vaccines have come out, hospitals across the country have put out numbers that the unvaccinated have over an 80% chance more of being in the ICU or dying than those that are vaccinated. Isn't that a stat that would be enough for you to say, okay, some of it is working? Nobody said that 100% has worked, that everything has been foolproof. Yeah. But sir, you have to at least admit that the vaccines have saved a lot more lives than they've harmed.
I've known a lot of people who've actually died of COVID vaccinated.
Okay. So. Well, I'd like to see the politicians. I'd like to see our senators, our legislatures to talk about whether these efforts were right.
Which efforts are you specifically talking about, though? Because there were a lot of different efforts, right?
Everything.
Everything. Well, I think, here's my opinion. Some of the stuff worked. Some of the stuff didn't work. The world wasn't prepared for COVID. This country wasn't prepared for a global pandemic. A lot of mistakes were made, but a lot of our brave men and women that are doctors and nurses who saved plenty of lives, and there are a lot of good people out there that did a lot of good. And sadly, some police officers died of COVID and EMT workers. And listen, there are a lot of brave people out there, the type of people that saved my life. Sir, nothing was perfect. I mean, nobody would say that.
But the legislature doesn't want to respond to my questions. And
that's a broad question. I would recommend you nailing it down to a few policies.
I asked them if the vaccines work. They don't respond. They just walk away. That, to me, is very suspicious.
Do the vaccines work? To an extent, every vaccine works.
Okay, well, then have them admit that it works. I want to see Nicole Canizaro. I want to see all these people in the legislature.
Joe Biden and medical members of his administration have constantly said that the vaccines have worked to an extent. I'm trying to understand.
I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. I just want to see the state legislature admit that it worked. Talk to them.
Okay. Well, I don't need some buffoon on the state legislature to tell me if something worked or not. I'd rather listen to an infectious disease expert, with all due respect, sir, and talking to him, my personal doctor, someone who knows my health.
Well, they're the legislators are the ones who closed.
I'm paying taxes to these people.
Yeah,
they let this lockdown and everything go on.
All right. I understand, DA, and I appreciate your phone call, sir. Thank you very much for calling in. Thank you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. We're going to go to Doug, right? I believe Doug is next. Am I wrong on that? Who's next? I don't know, Mark. Who's next for us? Hello, sir. You're live on the air. I don't know your name, but go ahead.
Would that be me?
That is you, sir. I'm sorry, sir. What is your name?
My name is Doug Basham.
Doug, what's going on, man?
You may have heard of me. I sometimes guest host for Brian Shapiro.
That is very, very true. Doug, you have the floor, and please... I don't want to really get into debate. Why don't you debate Rhonda? I do this for a living every day. I get sick of it. Go ahead. You're talking to Rhonda. Go ahead.
Yeah. And I apologize for calling in. You are more than generous in giving me time on your show, so I almost feel like I'm overstepping.
No, you're not overstepping. Go ahead.
But I had to, because Rhonda just, I want to say inspired, but the proper word would probably be infuriated me to the point where I was inspired to call in. And I want to address three things. First of all, it angers me when I hear people repeat Trump and his right-wing media's talking point /lie, Russia collusion hoax.
So I don't have a mind of my own. I got to follow someone else, right? They're not my own talking points. I have to listen to someone else and follow instructions.
Well, to be fair, Doug, be specific.
Yes, thank you.
When you say Russia collusion hoax, that is a talking point Donald Trump and his media have hammered home for literally years. And when you say Russia collusion hoax, you're not addressing the facts. The Mueller report was 450 pages long.
And there was nothing.
The first 200 pages addressed the Russian interference.
Can I ask you, how much did that cost the American taxpayers?
I do believe a similar effect in the local and state politicians is going to happen, just like Joe Biden. Scandals are going to hit them on the vaccine. They're going to have to resign. And then somehow they're just going to replace them. And I think Justin Jones is one of them. He was one of the largest cheerleaders of the vaccine. I was at the MLK parade, and I went in there and asked the politicians, did the jabs work? They wouldn't answer my question. I have it all on video. this is going to hit them very, very hard. Nearly all the pilots have been jabbed. If they're not able to do their services, how in the world how is this town going to resume business when we can't even have tourists? This is not going to work.
Well, I think Las Vegas is facing a real problem anyway. I think the real problem that's about to hit Las Vegas is because the economics here in town are going to change. People can't afford and gambling. By the way, we're now number 4 or number 5 in sports betting in the country.
Yeah, and we're now 13th in the states that are growing. Used to be number 1. The housing bubble is imploding. Remember what happened 10, 15 years ago?
It's going to happen again.
Absolutely. There's no question about it. And yet we're still having folks like the guy who used to be on this channel, Brian Shapiro. I asked him, why don't you interview the legislatures and tell them whether the vaccines have worked? And my question is, what is the Nevada GOP doing to organize people to literally flow into the testimonies and ask them, what did the vaccines do? Did these lockdowns actually work? Because they're just ignoring us, and if it's going to be a disaster, they're all going to have to be, at least most of them, charged, prosecuted, or whatever.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. There's a lot of stuff going on. I might have Segal Chad on tomorrow night so we could discuss her lawsuit against the hospital where patients were dying. As it turns out, it might be the hospital's fault that they died because of the fact that they didn't do their job, and amongst other things. So that'll be an interesting dialogue as well. But I got to tell you, with all these people that are dying, it's unbelievable. Every day we're seeing more and more people we know that are young dying. A 31-year-old having a heart attack. What was it, 2 weeks ago or last week? You had a 16-year-old have a heart attack. I'm sorry. And the coincidence, they're all taking shots.
Well, sorry to interrupt, but with all these people dying, Vegas is going to be like Detroit. And who's going to come here to the hotels when you're going to have a wipeout?
Cyrus, who can afford to come to the hotels?
That's another good topic.
You realize on the strip, you got places on the strip where the average bet is $50, minimum bet's $50 on the weekends? You understand you ever play craps in your life? You ever shoot craps? So when you shoot craps, a minimum bet's $50, and 2 times that, you're backing up on 100. If you're betting the numbers, you're gonna bet another $50. It's gonna cost you. You're into for a nickel for the first roll, $500.
But the casinos were the ones that were propping this up, and they were pushing the lockdowns and all the other agendas. The
casinos weren't pushing the lockdowns. That was pushed by Murren's and our good governor Sisolak.
No, it was before the Sisolak lockdowns happened. They were shutting down all of these casino elites, most of them, the unions, the politicians. They all need to be sued. They need to be tried. And there's a reason why they're not answering my questions.
I think the reason is apparent lately, based on everything we're seeing.
Yeah, they're going to have another protest march this weekend, and I'm going to be countering them. They're going to have a CCEA event. I'm going to be countering them. They need to know what's going on.
I like the fact you got balls and you fight. I give you credit for that.
Yeah, me and Lindy Robinson. Yeah.
Keep it going, buddy. Keep it going.
That's the problem with the people of this town. They should fight back harder. Where were they years ago?
I would say not just in this town. I would say it's more about the entire nation. You know what? I got to give the Democrats one thing you got to give them credit for. They know how to fight and play dirty. The Republicans want to play nice. We're ignorant. We have Republicans that think we should have meetings where we make it publish. We publish it and put it all over Facebook and social media so the Democrats can see how we argue amongst ourselves and not realize what the plan is.
But are you guys going to be flowing into the state legislatures where it's going to be like you're going to have armies of people show up to testimony?
I want to ask you a question. Who owns the legislature? Who's got the power?
Well, I don't even believe. Carter. If they're not right about the vaccine, how do we know they actually truly won their election?
Well, it's interesting because and then I'm going to let you go after this. I saw the numbers are trying to say more Republicans voted this time around than Democrats in the state of Nevada. And I say
The
that's
articles show that.
but it's not true. What happened is a lot of people registered as Republicans. They were in fact Democrats. They made sure to handpick certain people to run, and then they voted against them. Because you're not going to tell me that in this world of ours that we have bipartisanship in the state of Nevada, because it's not even close to being reality. And the truth be told is we are a partisan country and we are a divided country. And the more the more we stay partisan and divided, the more we lose.
Well, I actually think the division is falling down because more people are waking up than ever before, and people are seeing that it's just a tiny minority that's really the problem.
I pray to you, I say this to you in all sincerity. I hope you are right. I pray that you are right, but I witnessed more morons in this town that claim to be Republicans than ever, and it's sickening. Cyrus, I appreciate it.
Are you going to be testifying in the legislature, or are all you guys going to be doing it?
I don't know if I'll be testifying about that. I may be talking about health care because the Affordable Care Act is no longer affordable.
Mobilize people. The state GOP has to mobilize people.
Well, let's just hope that the people are willing to get up there and fight. We'll see what happens.